Hi guys, it's Clyde with PT3D, and today I'm going to be talking about the iNSTONE Inventor Pro 3D printer. So are you ready? Let's get started. Alright guys, well I apologize if you have a hard time hearing me today. I am sitting in front of my iNSTONE Inventor 3D printer, and I could not be happier right now. This printer has, changed my expectations a little bit in the way 3D printers work. Now I know there are higher quality printers out there on the market, and I know that there are less quality printers out there on the market, but I'm going to tell you, for the price that I paid for this, I'm astounded. Okay, now the iNSTONE printer, it only prints at about 240 by 160 by 160, okay, millimeters. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but for a starter printer, and for people that may not know the precise sizes that they might be interested in printing, that's a pretty good build volume. Right now I'm printing the Baby Groot model, which I honestly did not think I would ever print, but this particular color PLA that came with this kit is quite nice. It's actually quite lovely, and allow me to show you real quick. This is a neckerchief slide for the Cub Scouts that I found on Thingiverse, and I will be sure to put the link to give proper credit in the link below, so look for that there if this looks like something interesting to you. If you look close, you can see that I do have a little bit of over extrusion issues, a little bit of stringing, but keep in mind this print was done with me not dialing in any settings at all, really. I think I printed this at 220 degrees, and if you look real close, you can see that there is a little drooping right there. So there are some settings that I can adjust on this. I didn't have high hopes for this filament at first, because when I first got the filament, it broke. It was kind of like the thickness of a spaghetti pasta. So if you look, this is just a small piece of it right here, and when I initially had bent it, well, you can see it just breaks. I contacted the seller, and they said, well, it's probably because I'm in Maine and it's cold. So I let it warm up overnight, and I tried printing it again. I've been running it with the cover on, because this roll actually fits in the printer itself. If you look right here, the actual spool fits perfectly. But if you take a regular size spool, it's a little bit wider than that, and it doesn't quite fit. I haven't really tried to muscle it in to see if it'll flex at all, but that's just the rough of it. So when you're doing the leveling on this, it's a software assisted leveling system. So you go through the normal process. You use the paper, to the nozzle. There's 4 adjustment screws on the bottom of this that are quite easy to work with. My advice is don't go crazy on the adjustments in the beginning. It took me a little while to undo some of the damage I did with the leveling when I was eager to get this thing leveled the first time. So take it slow and just do a little bit at a time. I ended up doing some of the live leveling, since this isn't, completely hardware and software driven. It's manual, so I actually was able to do stuff with brims on it and adjust it so I got the proper layering on it. I've had very good success with the adhesion of the brim. I've had 0 part warping so far. That includes this model. You can see where the the brim's lifting a little bit, but it stops in the very last 2 layers, which I don't know if you can see that or not. It's a little bit of stringing going across here. I do have some zits going on Groot's head, but other than that, I mean, the definition on these layers is ridiculous. I love it. And I am printing this at 0.2 millimeters right now. These prints that I did, this is a display stand of some type. It was a model that was included with this printer, and if you look real close, this was printed at 0.1 millimeter thickness, and a very nice layering. I would definitely not turn this away. There's some little bit of minor blemishes on the top here, but nothing I would be concerned about. The other thing I did was printed this maker coin for Miss Heather over A Pyro Design, and what can I say about it? There is some small layering issues on this, kind of like banding. I'm not exactly sure what caused that, to be honest. I didn't have any issues initially, so I'm going to do some further testing on this particular filament. But this is the stuff from BAMTech that I decided to run. I would like to point out that this is the very first print. Pardon me. This is my very first print on this iNSTONE printer. And as promised, and I will deliver, I told Heather that I would print my maker coin in pink and I would give it to her. Very first print from this printer. Now, when I say first print, I mean from start to finish. I did a couple of brim prints with the first 8 layers of some prints just to see how the raft did. But this is the very first print that I did on this printer, and it now belongs to Heather. So I will post their attribution link down below because they have really awesome stuff, and Heather's been doing Pick the Pink lately, which has been a great great series. And she also did a horse for my daughter, so I'm a little biased. I apologize. Back to the printer. I have made some comments to the seller about some issues that I felt were noteworthy. I'm going to try and make this video quick, though. On here, these rollers, well, they're not really rollers, I guess, but they're, I think they're supposed to be rollers, but they're supposed to be there to help smooth out the rolling process for the filament, because this one is rest on top. It's not a rod style filament holder. I would recommend that they actually put rollers in this to actually reduce the friction, because on occasion the spool does hop, which is not a good thing. The other thing that I did notice about this printer is that the clearances are very tight on the inside of this printer. Okay, good. I'm just making sure I was checking the frame. I ended up taking some SD card boxes and putting them on either side of the printer to prop up the lid. I had 2 problems with the filament that they gave me initially. One was that the filament was brittle, as I showed you, and 2, that the filament was breaking at the very top of the hot end, which caused part failure in another job I was working on. I don't really like that. And what it turned out to be was that part of it was the lid where it was hitting. I haven't had the filament break since I propped the lid up to give it more clearance. I think it was a combination of the wiring harness and the actual PTFE tube bending too much for that filament, because it's very tight in here. So that would be my first thing. I have sent them an email to recommend that they kind of maybe think about that a little bit. Maybe provide a little bit bigger lid or something to that effect. I am showing a little bit of how the extruder in the hot end is actually running on this printer right now. This thing is supposed to be able to do ABS and PLA. So far I've only done PLA, and it has done awesome up to 230 degrees Celsius. I haven't really pushed it in terms of speed. I've got it set at 50 in their iNSTONE branded Cura software. And the layers are, I've gone down to 0.1 and I've gone up to 0.2. So I haven't really stressed this thing at all. I will make sure to do some more models and stuff so we can really see how this thing does. This print, I think right now we are going on just about 12 hours for this print, and it's almost completed. The software is kind of weird. When I noticed at first, when I first put a job in, if it says, for example, that maybe it'll take 2 hours to print on Cura, when I put it into here, it was reading at 31 hours. So I don't know where the disconnect is between the slicing software and the software running this, but it doesn't really matter because it seems to be pretty close. I haven't timed everything yet, so I'm going to do that on the next couple prints to find out how accurate the benching is between Cura. But that's the only thing I have issues with. The things I love about this printer, though, is that the neodymium magnets that hold the door closed are great. The overall volume of this printer when it's running is very low. It's actually not that loud. It does get into, when it does a lot of steps all at once, it does have a tendency of getting jittery, and it does transmit through this. I also noticed that since this is next to my washroom for my washer and dryer, that when my washing machine goes out of balance, it didn't actually affect the print too awful much. I thought it was vibrating the platform, but it actually seems like it's being really stable. So I'm guessing there's not a lot of slap in the X and Y, or slop, sorry. I do like the fans that are in the back of this unit. I can't smell anything coming out of this thing. And normally when there's PLA running and you're using a heated bed and in a slightly or mostly enclosed area, you get just that little bit of aroma from PLA, and I'm not smelling any of it. So I will be running ABS plastic through this, and I know that somebody is going to yell at me for that, but I have to see what this thing does, okay? And I know that you don't really want to swap between PLA, ABS, but I don't have a choice. This is the printer that I'm using right now. The Delta I will be getting up and running soon, and the only other thing I've got to mention is the touchscreen interface, which is absolutely fantastic. I can try and do a video on the touchscreen interface at some point, but today was just an initial thoughts, how I'm feeling about this printer, and I love it. So far, I absolutely love it. I'm not exactly sure what the price is going to be when this is out. I recommend looking at it though, because I did see a sale price of like $509 just the other day on this printer, and I paid $599 for this, so that's almost a $100 discount on this printer. It shipped to me next day. I live in Maine, so I was very impressed by that. The guys have been very receptive. I haven't gotten any confirmations back yet because I just sent those emails out, but other than that, you guys are absolutely awesome. We're up to 60 subscribers now, so I have to say there's probably credit to 3D Print Everything on this, but if it's just because you're interested in what I have to say, I absolutely appreciate it. Without you guys, this wouldn't be as much fun as it is. I love doing this. I absolutely love doing this, and I hope to be doing this for a long time to come. So until the next time, you guys be safe, have a lot of fun printing, don't forget to innovate, create, and get out of your box. Start thinking new, start doing things that are awesome, making things great. Okay? Don't forget, like and subscribe, share with your friends, ring the bell so you get notifications, subscribe to me on Twitter at CBFord76, or Facebook at Prototype This 3D. Okay? Until next time, you guys be awesome. We'll see you soon.